Hello viewers, Alan here, welcome to the workshop. So I have a project coming up which will require me to make some gears. Now I've never done that before, so it's about time I did. And so in this video you might like to join me as I go through the issues of discovering how to make gears. I did produce some, so at least there was a good result, but let's go and have a look. Okay, so I'm getting set up to make 4 small pinions. I want them to have 15 teeth, and I'm using a module 1 cutter. So the OD of the blank needs to be 15 plus 2, 17 millimeters, and the depth of cut's going to be the module 1 by 2.4, so depth of cut's going to be 2.4. My dividing head's got a 90:1 gear in it, so to get 15 divisions around I'm going to have to go 6 full revolutions each time. One problem that I'm a bit concerned about is I think I may have made my blank a bit short. So I don't know whether I'll be able to go far enough back that way to get 4 gears out of this, but we'll see. Obviously I ran a dial gauge across the top and the back to get that lined up. Setting the centre height, probably didn't do that terribly scientifically. I put a rule in there and do it in the same way you do finding centre height on a lathe. Just nip it up and make sure the rule's vertical. I don't know exactly how close that's going to make things, but well, this is my first go at doing gear cutting anyway, so we'll see what happens. Now this is a 2" or 50mm diameter cutter, so I'm going to run at about 170 RPM. A bit nervous about trying here, getting started, but anyway, got to start, so let's see what happens. Yeah, that's touched off now. Alright, so I've got to be 2.4 deep. There's my 2.4. Right, let's stop and inspect what we've got here. Seems pretty clear to me that I'm not going to get 4 pinions out of this piece. Anyway, it's a learning experience. Remember to do that next time. Alright, so I've got to do 6 full turns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ready for the next tooth, or the next cut. Remember to lock the thing this time. Alright, and there's my first tooth. Off. Last 6 turns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Into a 2.4 depth. And for better or worse, it's done. So let's pull it out and have a proper look. Okay, so looking more closely at this thing, you can possibly see that the outer edge of the teeth is essentially a sharp line. There isn't any sort of flat land on the outer edge as you would expect to see, or I was expecting to see. Now, I did a depth of cut of 2.4 millimeters because from my reading the depth of cut is supposed to be 2.25 times the module if the module is 1.25 or quarter. If you're less than 1.25, which I was at 1, you should be doing a multiplier of 2.5 times the module, which is what I did for a depth of cut of 2.4. But looking at this, I'm pretty sure it's just too deep. So there's a learning outcome there when you're cutting something like this for the first time. There's no reason really. I I couldn't have started with 2.25, see what it looked like. If I didn't like it, I could always have come back and gone deeper. So there's that. Another thing is I wanted to get about 50mm worth of tooth, so I could chop it into 4 pieces, and I forgot to allow for the diameter of the cutter. So in fact I won't get to that. I'd be lucky to get 40. So I'll get 3 teeth, 3 gears out of this, or 3 pinions, not 4. So there's that as well. But apart from that, as a first go, it's not all bad, and I think I will proceed and do the rest of the machining on this, just so I can run the whole process through and see if there's any other learning outcomes. Okay, well, I chopped up this bit that I made, and as I expected, I was only able to get enough material out for 3 gears. You live and learn. But anyway, the 3 gears that I have been able to put together seem to work alright. They don't mesh particularly, I mean, they're rotating freely here, but they don't mesh terribly nicely because I used an incorrect depth of cut, so that the tops of the teeth are too pointy. So I machined up another length of brass using the correct depth of cut with the gear cutter. Okay, so I'm going to cut one of these pinions off the pinion bar stock, shall we say now. The pinion needs to be 11mm long. I'm going to drill it out to 5.5mm and then bore that out to fit this bit of precision ground bar stock that I've got. So I need a bore of 5.97 for a nice fit on that. So we'll start off by drilling 12 deep. Now that should do that, and we're set up for boring now. Right, shooting for 5.85, and we got 5.846. Yeah, alright. Well, I guess we're on target. So we'll go straight for the final goal now then. Point 5.97 is what we were shooting for. What did we get? So we've got 5.98. Uh, 597 and a bit. Right, well, let's see what the bar thinks of the hole. Well, he likes it. Nowadays, you probably can't tell, but that's actually a pretty good running fit. So I'm happy with that. Right, so we're going to lop 11mm of pinion off now. Right, so you can see that's a perfectly appropriate fit on there for what I want it to do. just loose enough to run smoothly. So I was shooting for 7.9 just to leave a little bit for the 8mm reamer. I reckon that'll be just fine. Reamer won't have any trouble taking out 0.1. Right, well that's a disaster right there. Obviously I didn't allow for the pulling it back out to clear the chips and it's jammed up. That's rather stupid. Right, well I was able to part it off and we can see the other end of the broken reamer there. So I'll be able to knock that out. Whether or not the piece can be saved I don't know. I don't suppose it matters that much. It's only a piece of mild steel, there's not much time in it. But I'll knock the bit out and we'll see what we get. Okay, well that's been broken bit, let's see what happens. It is coming out, but as you can see, it was pretty jammed in there. And some broken bits. Alright, I think I'll put it back in the lathe and run the boring bar through it. And that's probably my best option. Alright, well it turns out I was able to save it. It's still a reasonable fit on my arbor, so that's good. I had to, when I cut it off, I cut off a 0.5mm longer, so I just got to trim that off. Otherwise we can carry on with it. I'll be lucky with that, I guess. Okay, so I want to cut 30 teeth on this 30 diameter gear blank. Of course I also need some way to hold it. Now, working with the 3-jaw chuck's not ideal because there's a lack of concentricity, and this has got about a 3 thou run out, something like that. So to minimise the impact of that, I want to do the gear cutting as close as I can to the centre at this end where there's very little run out. So I've made this arbor, which I'll put in there, and with the shoulder, so I'll better use this to press it up against the faces of the jaws. And it's a pretty good fit. I don't know how well you'll be able to see this, but it's actually a pretty good fit in there. And I've got a centre, of course, in the end of it. We'll put this on, and this will allow me to get a bit of pressure on it to stop it larking around. So anyway, that's to go on there. We wind this out. That's better. So now we can lock that down. And even though we've got run out here, we can still get pretty good concentricity where all the action's going to happen. So that's the logic here. So we've got to tighten that up and then mount the cutting arbor and all the rest. Okay, you can see here that I'm setting the cutter on the centre height of the gear blank using a rule trapped between the two, and I've got a square standing on the table base, milling table, to make sure that the rule's perpendicular. And I think that's going to allow me to have the centre height set accurately enough for this situation. Okay, well I reckon we're ready to cut the first tooth and see how it goes. That seems to cut all right. Okay, 3 complete revolutions and on to the next one. 1, 2, 3. Right, lucky last. Now I wasn't counting, but hopefully that's 30 teeth. Let's put it all apart and have a look. Okay, well, I'm quite happy with the way that turned out. Obviously I made two. They seem to mesh quite nicely. So that's the 30 tooth gears done. Oh, I've made these with hubs because I'll be mounting them on an axle, and they need a grub screw to secure them, so they've got hubs. Well, that didn't turn out to be as scary or challenging as I thought it might be. And apart from the casualty of the reamer, which I stupidly damaged or broke, things went pretty well. I finished up with some gears which I'll be able to use, and possibly more importantly, the confidence to make more. So, perhaps you'd like to join me on the next video and see what I'm going to do with these guys. Thanks for watching. Cheers.